Okay, I'm ready. Jessica, who's going to lead this off? Jessica, or are we just, or Chairman and I supposed to start?
That's my question, Rick.
Chairman Pitts, I'm going to defer to you to.
Okay. So are y'all asking questions, guys, or what?
I've got a few things I can open with.
Well, I could just start as we normally do and kind of set the tone and just bring it and let you have it from there.
Okay.
We got a lot going on. Are you guys ready?
Mr. Chairman, good morning. I see you're there. We're gonna, the county manager is with us.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see you are out in the field. Are all of our reporters, Mr. Dollar, can you tell us if all the reporters are on the in the Zoom with us now?
Everyone is in the room.
Okay, great. Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Election Day. This is Jessica Corbett with the Fulton County Department of External Affairs. We're here today with our chairman, Rob Pitts, our county manager, Dick Anderson, and our director of registration and elections, Rick Barron. As you can see, we are all working all over the place on Election Day. So I'm going to turn it over to Chairman Pitts. Chairman, where are you?
Well, I'm at excuse me, I'm in Sandy Springs. This is my fourth precinct that I'm visiting after voting. I voted early at my precinct, Cathedral of St. Philip's. I was there at 5:30. I like to be the first in line. That's tradition for me. I don't vote early. I love voting, being in line with the citizens. So, which is where I was this morning. So the good news is the polls, including mine, opened on time. There were a few delays with equipment going back to yesterday when one of the companies that we had contracted with backed out. So we had to scramble to replace that company. We worked really late into the night and this morning, making sure that all of the necessary equipment was delivered to the 255 precincts that we have. Now, in the event that all of the equipment was not at every precinct, which was the case in mine, I'm a good example. All of the equipment was not there at 7 o'clock, but the poll opened at 7 o'clock, and those of us who were there first, we had to vote using the transitional ballot. And that worked fine. Some people, though, who were in line, they chose to wait until the BMDs were up and operational. Since I had such a busy day, I wanted to get going right away, so it was easy. The voters who were in line, they understood the process. They understood the slight delay, but everything's going smoothly. I've been to, again, this is my fourth precinct. I'll be visiting some 20 today. Just checking to make sure that the voters are having a pleasant experience, and so far, so good. So with that, Mr. Barron, our Director of Registration and Elections, I'll let you take it from there.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman. Or good morning, I guess. It's been a long day so far. Overall, everything's gone smoothly today. We've had minimal lines throughout the county, and I think that's a testament to well-run early voting, which we had here in Fulton County, and it always helps when you have a robust turnout during early voting to alleviate issues that can crop up on election day. We had 255 locations open today. They all opened on time. Out of those locations, we've had a few technical issues at a handful of locations. And we have technicians on site, but in some cases, some of my system specialists from my warehouse have been involved to help them out. We also want to remind voters that they will see a peace officer at each polling place. This is to help us be prepared in the event of any type of security concern from traffic management or any other issues. We did have some equipment delays yesterday with no notice, but we were able to recover, and we have everything delivered out to the precincts this morning. In a couple instances, I think there were some things that arrived just after 7 o'clock, but all the poll workers used the training that they learned, that they received during poll worker training, to use the backup procedures and open on time and get voters through the lines. A few messages that I want to get across is, once again, well, voters who have an absentee ballot should bring it with them if possible, if they change their mind and decide to vote early, or if they decide to vote in person. We have seen several precincts where voters are voting on provisional ballots, and that is because they're voting out of precinct. It's important for voters to go to their assigned precinct on election day. We again remind voters to verify their polling location at mvp.sos.ga.gov.
All right,
That's
Mr.
it.
Barron, before we take questions, our county manager is here who just got back in from visiting several of our locations. Mr. Anderson, anything you'd like to share with us?
Well, I just reinforce what the chairman said relative to going to sites. I've been to 7 this morning, starting at 5:30 a.m. and no site in North Fulton, where I live, did I see a line. And some of these were our more high intensity sites like Alpharetta Library, Roswell Library. And so I think, as Rick said, it's just a testament to a well-run early vote program. And I'm very proud of what Fulton County was able to do with the most number of sites of any of the metro counties, the innovation around mobile sites, and then of course the app that we introduced. I think all of those things, plus a well-trained staff and well-supported during early voting, has led us to today. I think it's just, again, a great 10 a.m. press conference to be able to say no lines.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I'm going to facilitate questions because Regina is there with Mr. Barron. So just to make things go smoothly, I'm going to just facilitate this real quick. The first question we have is from Sean Keenan. He says, there have been a few reports of armed activists stalking around polling places on the west side. I know there are cops at each precinct. Is there anything they can do to reduce that kind of activity without infringing on people's Second Amendment rights? I'm not sure if any of you gentlemen would like to respond to that.
I've received no reports about this, so I don't feel comfortable commenting.
So Sean, I will tell you, and I will share that this is the first report of that nature. We do have a security plan in place. We have an officer at every poll, and any other security incidents would be the responsibility of that responding jurisdiction. So if this is in the city of Atlanta, we can make sure our security team is aware. Raisa asked, there were a few long lines this morning. Are there concerns that could change later in the day? Mr. Barron, could you speak to that?
Well, you're always going to have lines when you open on election day because people line up before the polls open. And when they line up, it always takes some time to clear those lines, especially if 50 to 100 people show up. It just takes time to clear people through any lines. And we could see lines through election day, although it seems as though this today is turning out more similar to 2016's presidential election, in which we just had steady movement through the polls during the day rather than a big crush of voters. Now, I would think that after 5, when people get off work, we might see some lines in that 5 to 7 o'clock time frame. But I think, again, if you have a really well-run, successful early voting program, you're supposed to have a slower election day, and that's what we're seeing today. We voted 315,000 people during early voting, and we also have had almost 140,000 absentee by mail ballots turned in so far. And voters can also turn those absentee by mail ballots in today if they still have them at any one of our 38 drop boxes around the county.
All right.
Most voters, about 9 drop box.
All right, thank you. This is another reporter Actually, Raisa had a follow-up question about technical glitches. What technical glitches were there at precincts, if any, and have they been resolved?
In most instances, it's either something having to do with a scanner or with a poll pad. And the cradle points that we purchased before the election season, or before this election cycle, have enabled us to remotely log in to those poll pads and fix them. In some other cases, they were able to see what was happening on them, and we had the poll workers do a hard reset on those to ensure that they were working properly. But when you have a lot of technology in the field, in this case, iPads, printers, touch screens, scanners, you have the possibility of inoperability with that much technology in the field. There are 4 components, where with our previous voting system we had one component.
Thank you. This is a follow-up question. On the wait time tracker, there are no polling places with lines longer than 30 minutes. Is that accurate? And do we expect those lines to get longer in the day?
Well, we saw that the line tracker was accurate for the most part during early voting, and I expect that it's accurate today. The techs are updating that. They're supposed to update that hourly, so it should be accurate, and it's what I'm hearing on the phone as well. And I just received a text of a picture from Park Tavern where we had probably the longest lines in the state in June, and the picture showed the caption was, "What a difference 5 months makes," and there were no voters at Park Tavern.
Thank you. Question from Mike Pachenik. He says, what is the name of the contractor that backed out? What was the reason they gave for not delivering the equipment, and how many polling places were affected by the delay?
I don't know the name of that company. I mean, we can get that, but they basically just said that they didn't have any staff to help us move, and it affected a number of precincts. It was in excess of 30, I believe.
Jessica, the name of the company was Beltman.
Beltman, Mr. Anderson just let us know. Obviously that's something we would be addressing separately. We have several questions about issues at Morris Brandon Elementary. That was a location where we did have some technical issues this morning. What was the cause? Was there a tech on site? What was the nature of the issues, and when will they be resolved?
They have been resolved. There was poll pad issue. A couple of the poll pads had an issue, and they were able to fix that through the cradle point, which is one of the purchases we made ahead of this election. I don't know the exact nature of it, but I do know that they fixed it by logging in through the cradle point.
All right, thank you. This is a follow-up from I think we've addressed the Morris Brandon question. Sean Keenan says the reports about armed men came from Richard Fawcett, New York Times, Atlanta bureau chief. So Sean, I think what we're saying is we have not received those complaints directly. So we will need to look into that, and we can respond later. I think Ben had a follow-up question. How many sites received equipment after 7 a.m.? And did Chairman Pitts mean that he voted on an emergency ballot? Mr. Chairman, do you want to address that?
Actually, I misspoke. I think I said transitional. I meant provisional ballots, what I really meant to say. That's
Okay.
what I did. It was seamless, no problems. There were people behind me who also voted using a provisional ballot, and there were 2 who wanted to wait for about 15 minutes until the BMD was up and running. But it was seamless, no problem, no wait.
Okay, thank you. A couple of other questions was about the moving company. Do we believe there were political reasons for this company, or are we investigating this for interference?
I have no reason to believe that.
Yeah, we don't either.
Okay. So the answer to that is we believe it was a simple act of just not keeping their commitment. Question about absentee ballots. Have we finished processing all of the absentee ballots that have been submitted thus far?
Well, it's a time-consuming process to process absentee by mail ballots. So once we receive them, then their barcode is scanned on the outer envelope to give credit for voting, and then it goes through signature verification, and that takes time. But we are caught up, which means within 24 hours of receipt, we're getting that through the process, and we will be updating. We'll be, I guess, whatever we have scanned in through 2 o'clock, we will send over to the warehouse to be tabulated for tonight, and then we will send another update probably around 10 o'clock tonight to add more ballots into the final tabulation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barron. And another question is, this is a follow-up to the moving company, was about how many voters had to use a provisional ballot as a result of that. I'm not sure we would have that information at this time. Is that correct?
No, we wouldn't. And I know in the case of Chairman Pitts's precinct, it was my understanding from what I received is that the only place where we had equipment arrive late was at his precinct, and it arrived at 7:04 from what I'm told.
That's correct.
All right, another question is about, are we still shooting for 11 p.m. for publication of results? Mr. Barron, could you address the result reporting we expect tonight?
Well, I expect to release absentee by mail results sometime shortly after 10, what we've scanned through today at 2 p.m. And then at 7 p.m. we can close out our early voting, and then we will upload the early voting results shortly thereafter. It'll probably take at least an hour to get those all closed out and into the server. From there, we will start getting we'll start getting our election day results in. Then we will at 10 or so shortly thereafter, we'll update absentee by mail again. And what I'm hoping for by 11 p.m. is to have the bulk of the election day results in.
So we do not, just to be very clear for all the reporters, we do not expect that every single vote, including all absentee ballots, will be counted by 11 p.m., correct?
No, and what I would say is that if we say we have 150,000 people vote today, which we're projecting somewhere in the 150,000 to 170,000 range, that would end up getting us to probably between 75 and 80% turnout. But if we have that, the bulk of our results are going to be from early voting. And so if you have 315,000 people vote, and we have 600,000 total voters, more than half of the results will be from early voting. And then when you add absentee by mail onto that, you're probably getting up into the 70 to 75% range of the results that will be out before we even see an election day result.
Thank you. Last question we've received is about the moving companies again. Why were the moving companies needed, and was this because of the warehouse COVID outbreak?
Yes, I mean, it was a combination of the COVID outbreak, because that delayed logic and accuracy testing. It just, because of the COVID outbreak, we had issues completing everything in the normal amount of time. In addition, our early voting program is so large. It's it's as large. Ours is as big as Cobb, DeKalb, Gwinnett, and probably Clayton counties put together. Therefore, we have to take a lot of time to turn over all of that early voting equipment, and all of that early voting equipment that gets turned over then has to be delivered on Monday. We always deliver on Mondays. That is something that happens every single election. We just haven't had this much because of COVID impacting it, and it being such a large early voting allotment, especially when you add State Farm in there. It took a lot of time to turn over the State Farm units, as well as the ones at GICC and the ones at the Dorothy Benson Center, because we had those 3 mega sites, and that's not something we've had to deal with before. So it was expected. It cut a little too close to the polls opening for my taste, but we were able to get all of that equipment out into the field, and all of our polling sites opened on time.
All right, let me see. I think we have one final question. Okay, it was just a thank you. So any closing remarks, Chairman Pitts, you'd like to close this out?
None.
All right, Mr. Anderson.
Nope.
All right, Mr. Barron, any closing remarks?
No, I just remind voters to check the My Voter page before they go vote today if they are unsure whether their polling place changed. We had 91 polling place changes since June.
All right. Well, thank you all very much for being with us, and we look forward to seeing everyone this evening as we close out and report results. Have a great day. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thanks.